Hello there guys, and welcome yet again to another video. We're going to be doing another discussion video because there's been lots of news going on around Guild Wars and I really want to talk about this. This might end up being a little bit longer of a video, but don't worry about it. I'm going to try to get through everything that I want in a quick, orderly manner, as I don't like my videos being over like 15 minutes probably. So the second beta weekend is coming September 4th, in case you guys don't know, which is just in a couple of days. This time we're going to get to play all of the announced elite specializations up until the Daredevil. That means we're going to be doing everything except for the Ranger elite specialization, and which is the Druid, and the Engineer elite specialization. So I'm actually really excited to play the Daredevil in PvP, and I can't wait. So look forward to some footage on that for PvP and PvE. They also did mention on their website that they're looking for a lot of feedback, and there was a little thing that I want to touch. They mentioned that they don't really need feedback on the mastery system because they got so much of it through the first beta weekend, so that much feedback isn't urgent. I like this because it's a sign that they're paying attention to the community and they're actually listening to us. So again, I like this. I think it's a good sign. I want to touch on the Daredevil. I know I already mentioned it a couple times, but I kind of want to talk about it, go a little bit into his abilities and such. I'm going to be doing another video later that will go in depth into what the Daredevil can do, what the traits are, and all that good jazz. But for now, I'm just going to really quickly touch on it. I might get to do, I actually got a really cool idea for a build I'm not going to reveal, but I want to go do a really cool build in the beta, so expect some footage on that. As I said, this is going to be a quick overtouch on his abilities and such. I will be making another video later on, but for now this will do. In case you guys don't know, the Daredevil is getting a third endurance bar, even though I'm sure that anybody who's been keeping up with the Daredevil probably already knows this. Honestly, I thought they could do so much, but I never saw a third endurance bar coming. I assumed that it was going to be evasive based, because honestly I don't get the vibe that ArenaNet likes stealth too much, and they probably weren't going to make us tanky, so I kind of saw that coming, but I didn't know we were going to get a third endurance bar. I'm actually super excited. I'm super excited for the traits. Speaking of traits, let's jump right into it. I'm only going to touch on the Grandmasters here because those are the ones that interact with your dodging and make it really cool, and I actually think that these are the ones that are bringing in a lot of our builds back into the meta, so let's talk about it right quick. First, we got Bounding Dodger. What this is basically a fancy jump in which you kind of fly into the air for a little bit, like it's overly exaggerated, and you do a cool little animation when you come down and you deal damage at the impact zone. The next two are actually really a lot more engaging in my own opinion. I might eat my words when this comes out because I don't actually know how strong the damage is going to be, or like how it's going to interact with the PvP and the PvE, of course. But regardless, for now, I think the other two are a lot more engaging with our current builds. Lotus Training will throw out daggers every time that we dodge. That will cripple, torment, and bleed. And it'll also be a whirl finisher. Now, the animation for it is slightly similar to Death Blossom. Actually, it's probably got a lot of similarity. And what I'm thinking right here is this is actually going to help a lot on Condi builds for Thief. Like maybe a Death Blossom spam where you just spam evasion frames and try to Condi your opponent down and just persist through the fight. Or, in my own opinion, it might be a good addition to the Pistol Dagger build because like the current thing with Pistol Dagger is that sure, you can stack a lot of Condi, but they don't last very long and you are really vulnerable. So like it might be a cool idea if somebody jumps on you, you basically get free Condi put on them, but just by dodging backwards, you know. That's really cool. It's kind of like fitting in a offensive and defensive at the same time. That might just be the buff that Pistol Dagger needs to come into the meta. I don't know. As I said, I might eat my words later. And finally, we have Unhindered Combatant. And this is actually the one that I'm most excited about. What it does is it makes us dodge further and replaces our dodge with a dash that removes chill and cripple, if I'm not mistaken. And it gives us swiftness, if I'm not mistaken. I might be wrong on that, but that looks like the perfect like tool for all the thief builds that are lacking mobility around a fight. For example, playing Dagger is the only one that I can think of off the top of my head, but playing Dagger I know that my main problem with Dagger is that I have to run a lot of utility skills that are actually for movement, just displacement, and I find that to be really crippling to the Dagger build. So with this, it might be like a little cooler alternative, like maybe relying on the dodges a little bit more to get in your opponent's face. A little thing that I was thinking about that I don't know why it popped into my head, but I thought was really cool is what if you could attack while you're dashing at somebody, you know? You basically just dash straight at an enemy and you, I don't know, you maybe do a cloak and dagger and you enter stealth, you disappear. It's just really cool. That's something that I think might be awesome. If it goes well into the weekend, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna post up a build on that specific idea, the dagger build. Just trying to get huge mobility through the dodges. To reiterate, as I said, I think this is actually affecting our builds more than anything, rather than giving us a different playstyle. Because honestly, in PvP and PvE, Thief has a bunch of different playstyles, but it just doesn't feel like you can use them, you know? It just feels more like you're kind of restricted to this one build or maybe 2 or 3 builds, and that's it, because the other ones aren't really too good. Well, I think with this dodge in PvP at least, it's gonna change that a lot. Like a lot of our weapons are probably gonna be a lot more viable than just running dagger pistol all the time. So for the Daredevil utility skills, I actually don't know what to think about this. Our heal skill is a 3-pulse channeled heal. Basically, the pulses are healing us, and the last pulse will give us endurance. If we're full on endurance, though, it'll give us an extra heal. I don't know how to feel about this, because it kind of does leave you out in the open. I might just want to still run withdraw or hide in the shadows. It's also really easily interruptible from what I can tell. So I still got mixed feelings for it, but the endurance is going to be really important on a Daredevil, so it might just be worth running. It also depends on how much it's healing us. Our utility skills are, first up, we got Bandit's Defense, in which we block and attack. When we block, we attack the enemy if they're in melee range, and we knock them down. Pretty simple, pretty straight up. Next up is Distracting Daggers. That equips us with a set of daggers and actually replaces the ability and lets us reactivate it. And what it does is that it shoots out a dagger. It's a ranged dagger, and if it hits somebody, it'll interrupt them, and it'll actually put their skill on a significant cooldown. They did specifically mention that it's going to be on a longer than normal cooldown. This skill actually has a lot of capability to thrive in the meta, but we'll see how it goes, as interrupting people isn't really like super important unless you like not against every class, you know, and you need to be kind of diverse to fight anything and everything at any time. And some of our utility skills honestly are just so strong. I don't know if this is gonna make it. Fist Flurry, it's a really cool multiple attack ability. If you land all of the strikes, it does a palm strike, which then deals huge amounts of damage, and on top of that, it applies a pulmonary impact, which, if I have understood correctly, will deal even more damage. And this ability looks really cool. It might be really useful for somebody who's trying to run an all-in-ish type of build. Next up is Impairing Daggers. This is actually one of the abilities that I had in my mind, and I kind of thought this was gonna make it, like straight up, but I thought the specialization would be more revolving around this, because this is straight up just like a ninja-like skill, something taken out of a movie. Basically, you just shoot a bunch of daggers repetitively at the enemy really quickly. It's kind of like Distracting Daggers, except that it does it by itself and it doesn't distract. And finally, we have our elite ability. Our elite ability is actually a 3-part ability, and what it does is that the first attack stuns, the second attack actually throws enemies in the air. It's really cool because this actually affects downed enemies, so this makes it really easy for us to land our third blow if we're doing it on a downed enemy, which is the whole point of this ability, because our third blow will actually be a final attack in which if it lands on a downed enemy, it will kill. Like, it won't take them into down state. It will just straight up, it's like a stomp, basically. This elite's really cool because it might be like a safe way of killing somebody when they're in the down state, or maybe even just getting them into the down state. I can imagine somebody Infiltrator Signet on somebody running at like maybe like 5-10% HP, landing the first 2 blows and you know the third one for the final epic kill. Man, it just has a lot of potential. This actually looks like a really cool move. So that's it for the Daredevil, guys. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you think the specialization is cool. Honestly, in my honest opinion, I think this specialization is probably the coolest one out of like all the ones that I've seen or the ones that I've been interested in. Mentioning the Tempest, mentioning the Reaper, and the Dragon Hunter. All those I've been really interested in, and I've researched and I actually played them a little bit during the open beta weekend. But I gotta say, the Daredevil has stolen my heart. I don't know if it's just because I got a soft spot for thieves, but it's just stolen my heart, man. Oh yeah, on other news, Guild Wars 2 went free to play. This is kind of awkward considering they just gave a bunch of sales. I know a couple of my friends have bought the game in the past like 5 months, and it's been kind of awkward because they're sitting there like, what, it's free to play now? What the hell? But I still think this is a smart decision. I think they didn't want to do it, and that might have been why they did all the sales, but they might have not gotten as many sales as they wanted, so maybe they just went for it to go to free to play. You're still gonna have to buy the expansion, of course, but yeah. Guild Wars 2, you can get your friends in it. It's a lot cooler. I was so happy to see that they explicitly said that they were not looking to monetize the player base. In other words, it's fancy smancy for we're not going pay to win. I love that. I love that. I love that idea. We're receiving a free outfit as well. I'll try to showcase that with the Daredevil gameplay that I'm going to be recording on the 4th. Alright guys, so the big news that I actually wanted to talk about today. We are getting a rating in Guild Wars 2. So first of all, a little background on me. I've been main tank, healer, and DPS, as well as raid leader back in World of Warcraft. It's nothing super flashy, it's mostly casual raiding. We cleared the stuff, but we never moved on to hard mode and such. I did raid during BC, Wrath of the Lich King, Kata, Mop, and a little bit of Warlords of Draenor, and I'm not so sure I'm going to be going to Legion because I'm pretty sure Guild Wars 2 is just going to be taking up all my time. Regardless, that's my experience with raiding, and I gotta say, raiding has got to be like one of the most fun activities to do in an MMO. Like, I'm really hoping that these raids, they did mention that they're gonna be that they're gonna require huge amounts of team coordination, you playing your class right, you dodging appropriately, and another thing that I think was shots fired at World of Warcraft was there's not gonna be a UI clutter. They specifically said they do not like the idea of there being a UI clutter, and basically you and the boss somewhere in the middle of the screen. So kind of shots fired during the announcement there, but whatever. I'm really hoping this means that it's gonna be really not like the 10-man stacking that we currently have. Like, it's not just gonna be 10 people stacking up in a pile. I'm hoping that this will force us to divide and split roles, and everybody can feel like they're doing something, they're contributing to the fight. That was exactly my first major concern for the announcement of raids. And the second one was actually difficulty. Apparently this is supposed to be the hardcore PvE content that they promised. So I imagine this is going to be like a really small amount of the community, probably like 5% or something even lower, that will be able to complete it. They also did mention explicitly that they will be giving us rewards that are going to be legendary. Basically, in my eyes, that sounds to me like they're giving us legendaries for rewards for clearing these. They did say, and I quote, "They will require your raiding team to be of a high level skill, strategy, and coordination in order to succeed." So this actually gets into my head, and I'm sitting here thinking, whoa, they can pretty much drop the ball if they just start nerfing bosses the second it comes out. Because that is most of what tends to happen in MMOs. People start complaining that they can't do a mechanic, and the boss gets nerfed. The other side, the elitists, start complaining, but they're like such a small amount that they don't, like, the company won't care. I really hope ArenaNet doesn't do this. I hope they listen to the whole of their community, and they know who are just downers and who are the people who are actually willing to put in time to defeat these raids. Raids will also tie in with the new mastery system. I hope to see different tracks for different wings of raids. It would be kind of cool, like if they had like a wyvern based raid, and then you got like glider, I don't know, some along those lines, like some like glider fighting, or glide. You're able to like glide through enemies, those sort of things. It would also be really cool if a secret wing appears. If everybody in your party has a certain mastery requirement within the raid. For example, maybe you get to the end of the mastery track for the first wing of the raid, and then it means that everybody can just start jumping. Like, you can spawn some sort of portal, and now everybody can take it and fight an extra boss. I think something cool like that would be really awesome. They got me a little bit confused though. They explicitly said that we're not going to be gearing too much during raids because they don't like the idea of the next raid's got to have better gear. So the previous raid is going to basically just be super easy to do because they haven't scaled it for that gear. It would just be way too much work for them to try to scale it every time that they try to bring a raid out. So I actually like this decision. I don't know how they're going to deal with it, how they're going to give us rewards. I hope this doesn't end up meaning that everybody's just going to run around with the legendaries from the raids. But we'll see how they manage it. I actually don't have much to say on this topic. Another thing, the raids, just because you're not getting geared doesn't mean that the raids aren't going to be harder. The raids can be easier through class balancing and such, as well as the mastery tracks. So I'm hoping that they don't drop the ball saying that, oh, 10 years from now, you're going to be able to go back into that raid, and if you beat it, you're still going to be a badass. But, they actually like did so much balancing and so much mastery tracks that it's super easy to do, and it's not actually that way. So, yeah, these raids are supposed to be coming out within a couple of weeks of the release of Heart of Thorns. My estimate is probably a November release, like late November, for the very first wing of the very first raid. Hopefully. Alright guys, so that's it. So if you stuck with me this long, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, remember to rate and drop a comment letting me know what I can improve on next. Once again, thank you for watching and have a great day.